Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me once again for another Fuchsia Labmic book talk on the expanded universe of Star Wars. So excited to be with you here again, and we are going to get right into this book talk, so let's go. Right now, we are going to talk about the Truce at Bakura. The Truce at Bakura. This book was published on November 1st, 1993, so it's one of the older books, one of the older post-Jedi books, written by Kathy Tyers. Let's put you in the timeline here. Let's give you an idea of where we are. This is 4 years after the Battle of Yavin. And this book takes place, or starts at least, just hours after the end of Return of the Jedi, which makes it a really cool kind of beginning for you. You get to start right where Episode 6 leaves off, and you get to jump into this new adventure, and you really jump into an adventure. I won't say too much about that, but they start you off really well in this book. Kathy Tyers does a really good job of that. Just to give you an idea of where we are, as I said, we're just hours after Return of the Jedi, so you're still just after the explosion from the second Death Star. You're still celebrating a little bit. There's still newness to the death of the Emperor, all those things. This book talks a little bit about those things, not a whole lot, but it does talk a little bit about that. You get to deal with, or actually you as the reader get to deal with, but you get to see also how the characters get to deal with this idea that it's over, and some of the questions that brings up and some of the feelings that brings up. You should also keep in mind that this is the end of the Empire in sort of a realistic way, not in a complete way. The Empire obviously still exists. It's still big and powerful at this point, but the Emperor is dead. And it has been 23 years since the establishment of the Empire, since the Emperor declared that he is reorganizing the Republic into the First Galactic Empire. And so it's been 23 years now. It's been a full generation plus of having the Emperor as the ruler and the Empire as the seated government, and that is all coming to an end. Let's look at the ages of our heroes for this book. Luke and Leia, the Skywalker twins, are 23 years old as this book starts. Han Solo is 33 years old, so you got kind of the creepiness of Luke and Leia, who are only 23, Leia especially at 23 years old, and she's in love with Han Solo. We all remember that from the end of Return of the Jedi. And Han is 33. So I don't know, there might be some creepiness there if you think about it too much, especially if you go back to episode 4 when she was only just turning 19. And Han was 29. Wedge Antilles, one of the big heroes of Return of the Jedi, and really one of the big heroes of Yavin 4, he's 25 years old. So we got Wedge Antilles there, and he is 25 years old, couple years older than Luke and Leia. He is going to play a role in this, and he's going to play a role as we continue with the books. He'll show up from time to time and be an important part. He is going to be an important part of the evolution of the New Republic and that sort of thing. And speaking of the New Republic that hasn't even been formed yet, at least not officially, Mon Mothma, the leader of the Alliance to restore the Republic, the rebellion. Mon Mothma is 52 years old. So she is one of the senior people. Remember, she used to be an Imperial senator. She was a Republic senator before that. We also have Gariel Captison. She's going to be one of the new characters in our book. And Gariel is the same age as the Skywalker twins. She's about 23 years old. And she will be a fun new character for us to explore. That there's some spoilers that I can't avoid as we're going to get into this and talk about Gariel Captison. We're also going to talk about Dev Sibwara. Dev is only 15 years old in this book. And we're going to get to meet him and find out about him. But for now, all I'm going to say is that Dev is 15 and he's a big part of this story. So we'll get to meet Dev. Major places we should talk about. Of course, one major place that we have to talk about is Endor. It is where the previous story, where Return of the Jedi ended, at the Battle of Endor, where the second Death Star was blown up, and we will have a chance to celebrate the end of the Battle of Endor and the end of the Emperor and all of the things that went with that, the death of Darth Vader. You don't talk too much about the Ewoks. I'll spoil that for you guys. There's not a whole lot of Ewok interaction in this book. But Endor is still it's our jumping off point for this book. So it's still an important place in this book. It's still the beginning of things, and it's still where important things are going to happen in this book. So you want to put yourself in the right mind frame that you are still starting this book on Endor. And that's going to give you a really good starting point here. It puts you in a familiar spot for the beginning of this book. And then we're going to wind up moving on to Bakura. The title of this book is The Truce at Bakura. And Bakura is the place where we are going to spend most of our time. We'll spend it on the planet. We will spend it in the space above the planet. We will spend a lot of time on and around Bakura for this book. And you're going to get to learn about Bakura. There's some vague images in the slideshow right now that you can see of Bakura. I don't want to give away too much, but it's a modern-ish planet, and it has expected affiliations. I guess I'll put it that way. I'm going to be spoiling this in a little bit anyways, but you can probably figure out the associations that it has given the timeline, and what most planets were associated with at this time. And you get to learn about sort of what a planet like this was like at this time. Let's talk about our major characters, and really our major characters in relationships. I always think the relationships are important here, and Luke and Wedge and their relationship. Of course, this is a relationship that has been going on since the Battle of Yavin. They are, I don't know, they're not long friends. Yeah, I don't know, they've been friends for 4 years. It's a fairly long friendship at this point. We're going to have to revisit the relationship between Luke and Obi-Wan Kenobi. That is always has been an important relationship, continues to be an important relationship, will continue to be an important relationship for some time in these books that we're going to talk about. And of course, we're talking Force Ghost Obi-Wan Kenobi when we talk about that. Then we have to get into some of the new stuff, the relationship between the Sai-Ru and Bakura. The Sai-Ru you can see there in the slideshow right now. You can see their emblem. And if you're watching it on a big enough screen, you can see a representation of the Sai-Ru. They kind of look like velociraptors. It's interesting. The relationship between the Alliance and the Empire is going to be an incredibly important relationship in this book. In fact, there's going to be, it's a major side story of this book is how do the Alliance and the Empire deal with this new world? Okay, this new galaxy that they're in. Then, of course, you're going to have, I don't want to give away too much, but there is a relationship that's going to be talked about throughout the book between Luke Skywalker and Gariel Captison, one of our new characters. Luke and Gariel are going to be a relationship, a set of characters that you want to keep your eye on. As you read this book, you'll have no problem doing that. It'll be obvious. And another relationship that will be obvious is Dev Sibwara, our 15-year-old Dev Sibwara, and the Sai-Ru of the Sai-Ruvi Empire. So Dev and the Sai-Ru have a relationship. I'm not spoiling much for you there, Dev. You're going to find that out within half a paragraph of reading about Dev. Other major characters and relationships you should be thinking about: Luke and Dev. This is a relationship to watch out for as you read the book, and how they get to find out about each other and how they interact. I don't want to give away too much. The purpose is to tease you with these things and give you maybe small spoilers, but nothing big. The relationship between Leia Organa and Darth Vader is a relationship that you want to keep in mind. You want to think back to episode 4 and think about how their relationship was and what she thought of him and the things that you guys know this. I expect that you wouldn't be watching this if you haven't at least seen the original trilogy, episodes 4, 5, and 6. But also, you have to watch out for her relationship with Anakin Skywalker. And this is going to be an interesting little thing that they're going to move us into, this exploration of the relationship between Leia Organa and Anakin Skywalker is going to be an important one to watch out for. Then there's, of course, the big love relationship, which is Leia Organa and Han Solo. They're all still starry-eyed for each other since the end of the Battle of Endor and the revelations that went on and everything else. So this is a relationship that you're going to have to keep your eye on, not just for this book, but in future books as well. The relationship between Han Solo and Leia Organa is, it's an important relationship. It's going to get more and more important as we go. I don't think I'm spoiling anything there. We knew it was going to be an important relationship at the end of Return of the Jedi, right? So there's no point in me trying to hide that. And then Governor Nereus. Governor Nereus, who you see in the slideshow there on the left. And I don't want to spoil that picture too much. That is the only piece of art that I could really find with Governor Nereus in it. So I that's the one that I put in there. Governor Nereus is an interesting character to watch out for. Let's talk about some major events to watch out for. I'm not going to spoil too much about the main events, but Wedge's encounter with an Imperial drone, you'll have no problem finding this one. It'll be super obvious, but still watch out for it. Keep your eye out for it. Wedge's encounter with an Imperial drone. And when I say Imperial drone, don't think just like the one or two that you think you know. You want to think about broadening your idea of what an Imperial drone is, what their functions could be, that sort of thing. So watch out for that. Wedge and his encounter with this Imperial drone. I've given you somewhat of a sneak peek into it there. A new term for you to watch out for is entekment. And I guess I'm giving you a tease. It's not even a spoiler. It's a tease into what entekment is with the slideshow image that you see right now. You can see who it involves, but it is a really important part of what's going on in this book. In fact, you could say it is very much a driving factor for this book. So entekment is really important. Again, you'll have no problem finding your way to entekment because it's a huge part of this book. One thing that you might miss if you're not paying, it's unlikely that you would miss this, but how Dev Sibwara is controlled by the Sairu is an important thing. As I mentioned before, Dev and the Sairu will have a relationship that you want to watch out for, and how Dev is controlled by them is a big part of that relationship. And again, I'm trying to tease you here without giving you too big of a spoiler. Yes, Dev is associated with them. Yes, he is controlled by them. The interesting part, at least to me, is how he is controlled. That is a really big, interesting part of this. Let's look at some more major events here. Let's talk about the confusion of being so close to the Emperor. That is time-wise. Okay. Again, this book starts hours after the death of Emperor Palpatine, and that means something to everybody, as long as you know about it. I'm not going to say too much more than that, but just put yourself in the mindset of mere hours after, even days, weeks after. How do people know about it? How do people find out about it? And how does that affect the government, worlds, the military, all those things? Is an interesting thought exercise to go through. How has that all changed? Keep an eye out for Luke trying out a new role. Now, I'm sort of teasing, maybe even spoiling a little bit with the picture in the slideshow. And I am trying to tease you into, maybe even spoil you into reading this book with that image. I'm not going to say a whole lot more about it, but of course you can see, really, you should be able to see what's going on just by the image there and me saying Luke trying out a new role. But I'm still going to try and maintain a little bit of mystery to this, a little bit of tease to it. And finally, and I know what you're thinking. If you're looking at the slideshow right now, I know what you're thinking. You are thinking, what in the world is that piece of art? Why would you use that, Fuchsia Labmick? Well, because we have to talk about Luke's scare and something that happens. And this image is the one that I thought fit the best that I could find for that particular scare. And I think when you get there in the book, it will make more sense to you. Okay, that's what I think, is that when you get there in the book, it'll make more sense to you. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for watching. Thank you so much for being teased into reading the book, The Truce at Bakura. The next book in the timeline is The Courtship of Princess Leia, and it is the next book that we will be talking about for the Star Wars Expanded Universe Book Talks with Fuchsia Labmick. I am Fuchsia Labmick. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day.